This right here, this is an overtime beer.
Well, I got overtime shots.
Oh. And, I have to apologize to one of our viewers. So an old friend of mine, Max, he texts me all the time. He's asking me, hey, is the overtime episode released yet? So I know he's watching, but in like week 2, might have been week 2, he said he wanted to see me do a shotgun on camera after a Packers win. I totally would have, but I got bottles tonight. So
yeah, you can't really do
next
that
week
with a bottle. Yep. All right.
Next week.
Yeah. So apparently each of us have one friend that watches the overtime episodes. So yeah, mine is Tom, who made it through all of last week's episode. Yep. And his suggestion was when we do score predictions, or whatever pick you get wrong, you should shotgun a beer or take a shot. I think that's a little bit. I think that's a little bit extreme, but I do like the idea. It'll make me try a little bit harder, because last week I feel like I was just wild and just some crazy ass picks just to be crazy last week. But I think whoever finishes last, or whoever loses the weekly picks, should have the shotgun a beer. I think that'd be. I don't
like at the end of the season or each week.
Each week, like to start the episode. God.
Wait, so you're telling me if I want to satisfy Max's request, I got a shotgun one every time the Packers win, and then we get to overtime and I lose the scheduled predictions every week, and I'm gonna have to shotgun them.
You won last week. I'm pretty sure you won last week.
Really? I don't think I won this week.
No. All right. I'll take this one. 1 second. All right.
It was a wild week. It was a wild week in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Fun one. A lot of good games.
What was your favorite game from the weekend?
Ooh.
You could be okay over there?
I'm looking.
Ooh.
You can't tell because you can't see my eyes.
Yeah, you're right. I can't tell. You're like Ray Charles over there, just staring off into the abyss.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look here. I just was looking through. I got some notes on which games I liked over the weekend. Probably the most exciting one was the Ravens-Bengals game.
Yeah.
Went to overtime. Lamar Jackson somehow made it happen. What I literally wrote down was Lamar magic. Like, how? Don't really understand how he does it every time, but
I turned off that game, or I switched away from that game because it ran right up to the kickoff of the Packers kickoff, right? Yep. I switched right after Lamar fumbled it in overtime, or it was a bad snap, fumble, and the Bengals recovered it. And I was like, shit. Because I took the Ravens to win that game. It's like one of the only picks I got right last week. And you took the Bengals.
You got more than that, right?
Okay, I was just being kind, all right? Just calm down. But I'm like, okay, I just, all my teams are losing, and then he fumbles it, Bengals recover. I'm like, all they need is a field goal to win. Yeah. Well, where's the Lamar magic, though? Because Derrick Henry then ran for 50 yards, got him in field goal possession.
Oh, yeah, the big. Yeah. I was watching that game at my in-laws' house as well, and I commented to my father-in-law. I was like, it seems like every single week, Derrick Henry, at least at some point, has some big 50-plus yard run. It's just a matter of when it happens. Sometimes it's the first carry of the game. Sometimes it's in overtime. But at some point, he breaks one off.
Outside that was a fun. It was a fun one. I mean, 41-38, high scoring game. Overtime, both offenses had a shot to win the game. Missed field goal. Henry breaks 50. They win a game. That was hands down, that's probably the best game that happened on Sunday. The
Mm-hmm.
Bills-Texans game was a good matchup. You had the Texans winning that one. I was feeling pretty good about the Bills, but the Texans, they're building up some momentum here, and they head to Lambeau next week. And I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about that matchup. They need to fall on their face here real quick.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this next week, but I believe I have them winning in week 6 as well. So they're going to have some momentum coming into Lambeau.
Did you wake up and watch football on Sunday? Did you watch the Jets Vikings in the morning with a cup of coffee or anything like that?
I had to work on Sunday morning. I had to drive, but then after I finished with work, I was driving back, and I have NFL Plus on my phone. So I pulled up the Jets Vikings game in London, and I had it on. I've got this little mount for my phone in my truck, and I had it, sideways, full screen on my phone as I'm driving down these back roads.
Yeah. So, back roads too, even better. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so I actually caught quite a bit of that Jets Vikings game, which I probably wouldn't have if I was at home, because it was so early in the morning. I would have had, kids running around, cartoons on the TV. I probably wouldn't have watched as much of it as I did. And it was a decent game. The Jets were in it for a decent amount of it, which is why this whole,
let's get into it.
I don't discredit what the Vikings have done. Like, they have played well. They're 5-0. They're one of 2 5-0 teams at this point. But, that game against the Jets are, to be honest, the Jets are not a very good team.
They looked terrible in the first half. They looked really bad in the first half.
And then for the Jets to, come back and have a shot. And then, the week against the Packers, the Vikings were dominating, and then Packers came back and were within striking of winning that game.
Yep.
So there still are, gaps or chinks in the armor for the Vikings. And, this game against the Jets, Aaron Jones went down. Aaron Jones is injured. It sounds like a hip injury or a hamstring, maybe both, but it doesn't sound like he'll necessarily be back this week 6.
Well,
so
that's a bye week. It's their bye week.
Sure. Yeah.
So they caught a break on that.
Yeah,
one.
They did catch a break there. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Jones gets injured. Sam Darnold played awful. If I remember correctly, I saw something on Instagram. It was going through all the, top fantasy players that disappointed in week 5. And I think Sam Darnold had like a little over 4 fantasy points or something like that. So he obviously didn't play well. They squeaked out a win, but there's some question marks there.
Where I want to go, part of the reason why I brought up that game, I did watch the whole game. That first half was very ugly by the Jets. They storm back and they make it a game, and Rodgers throws 3 interceptions in that game. And on Monday, Mike Green, I don't know if it's Greeny or Green, but on ESPN, huge Jets fan, he goes out and puts it into the universe that the Jets need to fire head coach Robert Saleh. And
well, it happened today.
I know. And that's the thing. It's the craziest shit. Why? He's gone 3 seasons. He's never had a good quarterback. Last season, Rodgers gets hurt, has to go through that whole shit fest. They start the season, they're 2-3. Rodgers is the guy that threw 3 interceptions. Nathaniel Hackett's the motherfucker that's calling the plays on the offensive side of the football, and he kept his job. It is absolutely bizarre. But to my point, Mike Green goes Green. Is it Greeny? Do you know if it's Greeny or Green?
I have no idea.
I don't. Okay. Well, he goes out there. He says the Jets need to go out there. They need to fire Robert Saleh. That they only have 1 year to capture magic with Aaron Rodgers and go out there and win a Super Bowl. So you essentially tear up your entire coaching staff and decide that you're going to bring in an intern head coach, and that's going to be the answer. This is officially Aaron Rodgers' football team. Like,
Oh yeah.
just
I mean, to me, the firing of Saleh is we'll never know for sure, but to me, it's a Rodgers thing.
Oh, for sure.
Rodgers said, I don't like him. Get rid of him. And you know what's even funnier? You know who their interim head coach is?
The
defensive coordinator.
Oh, no. There you go.
Jeff Ulrich, I think it is. Ulbrich. Jeff Ulbrich. Defensive coordinator. He played linebacker in the NFL. So he's defensive minded. So nothing with this Jets offense that has looked awful, nothing is going to change.
Yeah.
So it was a pointless firing.
It was
completely pointless.
It was such a bad decision. And really, I get it. Nathaniel Hackett went out to Denver, and that was an absolute dumpster fire with Russell Wilson. But if Rodgers is going to be running that offense regardless, you might as well make Hackett the head coach and have him, like, they love each other. They have some bro love going on, those two. And at least they could figure it out together. But now you're bringing in another, like, to your point, you're bringing in a defensive coordinator now. Things are not going to get better. And it is, if I'm a Jets fan, I am more concerned than ever with the future of this season with firing your head coach.
Well, and
you lost to a 5-0 Viking team. You didn't lose to the Panthers. Like, what are we doing? Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a matter of time this season. You know, after we talked about it last week, the Devontae thing. But what I was referring to is that one instance where, you know, Rodgers comes off the field and Saleh goes to give him a hug.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious that they didn't get along, or at least Rodgers didn't like him.
And I think, is it Saleh or Saleh? Saleh?
It's Saleh.
Saleh. I see. I can't get my green or my greenie right, but it's Saleh. All right. So it was just last week. It was after week 4 where Saleh was saying, yeah, we might have to look at the cadence or the hard count and something like that. And then Rodgers is standing at the podium and being like, I don't know if it's the cadence. I wouldn't say, like, these guys have been battling heads for quite some time. And Rodgers is, I don't know. I look back at, you know, we bring in Matt LaFleur after McCarthy gets fed up with Rodgers and had enough of that. That could have went 1,000 different ways, but somehow they made that work. And the back-to-back MVPs that Rodgers won, and him standing at the podium saying how much he loves Matt LaFleur, like, whatever it was, I don't think we got the full Matt LaFleur like we got last year and this year, but they were able to kind of combine their thoughts and find success.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Rodgers' last season, you think? I think
yes.
I think this is it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Jets are going to be right back where they were before he signed with them.
So almost more than ever.
Going to the draft.
It kind of seems like they go out there and they get Devontae at this point. Just fucking throw the whole farm at it. It's over.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, Rodgers is in control of that team.
Yep.
He will insist that they go get him, and they'll get him. And then there'll be drama between likely drama between Garrett Wilson, who is their number 1 star wide receiver right now, and Aaron Rodgers, because, you know, throughout the last 2 seasons, you know, obviously Rodgers was injured last year, but coming in this year and Rodgers is healthy, you know, they're probably buddy and like, yeah, you're my number 1 guy. Like, ball's going to you, buddy. And then Rodgers is like, hey, bring in Davante Adams. He's really my guy. He's the one that I actually want. I don't really want you. Like, you know, they're going to spin it. The analysts will spin it. Oh, now they got Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams. Well, there's only so many passes to go around. And I feel like Garrett Wilson might get a little upset that his role as the number 1 guy has been diminished because Rodgers wanted his old buddy Davante back. It's
that
just
team is
it's
so
just a
fucked.
dumpster fire.
It's
a dumpster fire.
A dumpster fire. I'm sitting here
And we
just
knew
thinking,
it would be.
this whole the freaking New York, or it's New Jersey market, just they haven't had any luck for decades, and they get Rodgers and he gets hurt on first series and a whole season. They finally get him back. Now their head coach is fired. It's like, what is going on? That is just, yeah. Do you think if the Packers still had Joe Barry, that they would fire him right now and bring in Robert Saleh?
That is something that I definitely didn't think of.
It's
but
something
yes,
that you talk about in overtime.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. That definitely happens if it's a different situation in Green Bay. Because LaFleur and Saleh are buddies. They're buddies from back in the San Francisco days. I don't know.
I think we have to go back to
Atlanta.
Either Atlanta or Washington, something like that. They all started their careers, I think, LaFleur was his best man, I believe, in Robert's wedding.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. I mean, now that you say it, there might be a very, very slim chance that they fire Hafley and bring him in.
Wow. I wouldn't do that.
No,
I'm
not
not that
kidding.
crazy.
But
yeah, because LaFleur was very close with Barry, and it was tough to let him go. He made that hard decision at the end of last season. But had he decided to stick with them, and let's say the Packers are 2-3, and that guy gets thrown onto the market, I don't know. I could see him coming in as maybe even an advisor or an assistant of some sort.
Oh, yeah.
I read an article that I can't fucking pronounce his name. Saleh. God damn it. It's the I heard he had to get escorted off the premises when they fired him today. Let me see if I can find the article.
I didn't hear that. I heard that he came into the building like it was a normal day, knew nothing about it, and then was told that he was fired, and he didn't address the team. He didn't talk to anybody, but I guess I didn't hear that he had to be escorted out.
So
and
this is from
I'm not surprised.
Pro Football Talk says, the article says, yes, dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. As to one specific thing that happened this morning, as in Tuesday morning, it's a dysfunctional thing that didn't happen the last time the Jets fired a head coach. Per multiple sources, Jets coach Robert Saleh, thank you, was escorted out of the building by the team's director of security after Saleh got the news. They did not do that to Adam Gase.
Honestly, it may have just been precautionary because he's a pretty big dude. He's a little, I feel like he's a little scary. And they're probably like, we're springing this on him. He's probably going to be pissed. You better have security escort him out.
Yeah. He's like, what the fuck? I had Zach Wilson for 3 years. Like, you assholes left me with nothing but shit. Like, give it some time. Let it marinate. Ooh. Any other topics around the NFL you want to discuss before we get into our regular spiel? Any other bigger headlines than the firing of Robert Saleh?
I mean, outside of, as far as headline news that's happened in the last couple of days, that's the biggest. But I, noted a bunch of games from this past weekend that had some highlights. Like we said, it was a good weekend of football. You start on Thursday Night Football. Kirk Cousins leads an insane comeback and beats the Bucs. That was fun to watch right away on Thursday Night Football. We talked about the Jets-Vikings game. That was a fun game to watch. It was a close game for a lot of it. Colts and Jags, two, struggling teams, put up big numbers, and Joe Flacco comes in and doesn't get it done because the Jags did win the game. But, he put up a pretty damn good fight. Joe, how old is that guy now? He's not as old as Rodgers, but probably pretty close. And the Dolphins. The Dolphins get the W. Did it make you that upset? Did it make you that upset that the Dolphins won? He just disappeared. He came back clearer than ever. And now he's gone.
Hold on.
There he's gone. Just going to hang here in my victory shades.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, we're back.
What happened?
My AirPods died. I plugged in some external headphones, and apparently the entire computer decided to reboot now. So
wow.
I think I can hear you. I don't know.
You can?
Can hear you. We're good.
Yes.
So you were...
I was just running through the rest of the week in week 5, which I got through, let's see, Thursday Night Football. Cousins leads a wild comeback against the Bucs.
Wild.
That was pretty fun to watch. Just wild. We talked about the London game, Jets Vikings, Colts and Jags, high scoring, a couple of the teams that are, kind of towards the bottom of the barrel. But Joe Flacco still has it. Not sure how he did it, but they didn't end up winning, but that was a high flying game.
That one made me nervous. Took the Jags in that one. And and I was like, what the hell? The Colts are storming.
Mm-hmm. You know who else I took in week 5?
Here it comes.
The Miami Dolphins.
Yes, you did take the Miami Dolphins. That, you can have that one. Fucking Dolphins.
Yeah. Let's see. We talked about Bills Texans. That was a fun game. Cards Niners. Obviously, we kind of hit on that, talking about the Cardinals, Packers facing them this next week. But the Niners, they need McCaffrey back real bad.
Well, I'm just box score from that game, and the Niners were up 23-10 at halftime, and they lost that game 23-24. So I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch highlights of it, but
I didn't watch it either. I just know that it was close.
The implosion there at the end of that game is pretty crazy.
And then to finish off the week, I guess not finish off the week, Kansas City kind of dominated the Saints. That finished off the week on Monday. But Sunday Night Football, did you watch any of that? Cowboys Steelers?
I actually didn't. I had that 1 hour rain delay, and then I was kind of sick of waiting, so I think I started watching some Netflix. And yeah.
But no, I watched most of that game. It was slow starting, low scoring. I think the Steelers came out to an early lead. It was like 13-7 at halftime or something like that. The Cowboys came back. Cowboys ended up winning it. But I saw kind of a funny stat. So Dak Prescott is the first QB to throw an interception, to throw 2 interceptions on 2 different days in the same game.
Yeah.
So, yes, because I didn't understand the stat at first. I was like, what? That doesn't even make sense. But yes, so the game, because of the delay, it went into the early hours of Monday morning, and he threw a pick early in the game, and he threw a pick later in the game. So that was kind of interesting and kind of funny because it's Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. They did get the win, but I don't know. Dak struggled most of that game. I don't know. The Cowboys are, we talked about it early in the season, feeling like the Cowboys are going to regress a little bit. Well, and I think that's happening.
Speaking of, we'll probably go into power rankings here shortly. We will go into power rankings shortly. But yeah, there's a number of outlets that still, like, the Cowboys have cracked the top 10 in some of these power rankings, and I have no idea why. They have no business being there. Yeah. Yep. What? I've seen them at 9. Okay. All right.
Who?
Okay. He's coming in hot. I don't know what happened because my AirPods didn't die, by the way. They're working perfectly fine. Something.
Did you get hit with an EMP?
I wouldn't rule anything out. But they're controlling the weather now, Christian. So, of course, Oh,
I know. They've been controlling the weather for years, man. It's just people are paying closer attention now.
What are you looking Cowboys for? At 13. That's probably a good spot for them. I think they're my most accurate source for power rankings. ESPN NFL power ranking.
I don't know. I feel like 13 is still too high.
I think you're too high. There's fucking sunglasses on. ESPN has them at 10. There it is. ESPN has them at 10. Last week they were 15. They got the Packers at 9. And
I don't understand how they can. I understand the Cowboys won. They beat the Steelers, which the Steelers have played well and have been a good team this year so far. But they didn't win well. Like the Cowboys still played poorly and eventually, put it together and squeaked out a win at the end.
Yeah.
So how can you move them from 15 to 10?
So that in that two games that they lost,
it doesn't make sense.
At the hands of the Saints in week 2, where they lost 44-19, and then the Ravens in week 3, 28-25. But yeah, they beat the Browns, they beat the Giants, and they beat the Steelers, and they squeaked out. Outside of that week 1 Browns game, they squeaked out the other two. as far as that goes, they face off against the Lions on Sunday night, and I mean, I don't like cheering for Detroit, but I hope they fucking just pummel them at this point. Put them back in their. The Cowboys have the Lions, a bye week, at San Francisco. Who knows what you get there? At Atlanta, and then you have Philadelphia, Houston, and Washington. They're going on this tear of some pretty good matchups in teams. Yeah, that's knucking butts. That made me think, though. It's worth mentioning, maybe a headline that came up over the last couple days that hasn't been brought up yet. The NFC North is the only division that has every team above 500. So I know we don't like to talk about the Bears and the success that they've had, but they're 3-2 as well. Vikings 5-0, Detroit 3-1 because they just had their bye week. Fucking this division's for real. And I still think the Bears would finished last, but they might have 9-10 wins and finish last. They already got 3. This is the only chance you get to rebuttal, okay? Caleb Williams looked good on Sunday.
Yeah, apparently he did. I didn't watch that game at all. But apparently he did.
Fucking great insight there. Caleb Williams, 20 for 29, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't think he had any interceptions. 0 interceptions. Quarterback rating of 126.2.
They played the Panthers.
Andy Dalton and the Panthers, yes. That's who they played.
Where does ESPN and NFL.com and all these other sites, where do they rank the Panthers in the power rankings?
I'm just going to look up one because I keep closing these tabs. If you had to guess where NFL.com is the most accurate, in my opinion, where would you place the Panthers on their ranking list? Wow. Okay, let's just go to the bottom. That is correct. They have them at 32. Yep. Down one spot from 31 the week prior.
Who did they have last
well,
week?
It'd be someone that shot up. It would have been Jacksonville. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, probably. Yep. That makes sense. Because they finally got a win.
It was just above Jacksonville because the Jags are at 29. I'll give you one guess who's just above Jacksonville. It's not the Bears. It's a team you seem to be fond of. Can't really pick against them. Yeah, the Dolphins.
Oh, the Dolphins.
There at 28.
The Dolphins.
Up 2 spots from 30. Let's get to our score predictions. You again
or schedule
did
predictions.
homework. You sent me your list. I don't have that pulled up in front of me, so you can just kind of read off of your notes on that side. Thursday night's game. You know, you did your homework, so you're going to come into this one with a little bit more game plan. I did not look at any of these matchups. I'm seeing a San Francisco 49ers
how
team.
the turntables have
turned. Niners are heading to Seattle. The 12th man that I alluded to a few weeks ago is alive and well in Seattle. Legion of Boom, right?
I can't believe you referenced the Legion of Boom. What was that, week 2 or 3? That's from so long. That's Richard Sherman is a commentator on Monday Night Football now.
Yeah, and he's doing a hell of a good job. What's your point?
He is. You know, no, Thursday Night Football. That's where he commentates.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a commercial for this game. The two main teams that he played for, he's going to be commentating at halftime for.
Yeah,
thought that was interesting.
Back in the early 2010s, this was one of those matchups that I think you still had Kaepernick at quarterback, and then you had Richard Sherman going up against Crabtree and angry post-game interviews, and this used to be a much higher profile matchup than what we might see on Thursday night. Seattle is coming off of...
It's divisional, right?
It is. It's divisional. Seattle's coming off of a loss to the New York Giants. And then the Niners are coming off of a loss to the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know. I mean, it is crazy, but it feels like a coin flip. I don't know who you picked. I didn't read your notes close enough. You're going to take the Niners?
Yeah, I took the Niners. I don't think it's a coin flip. The Seahawks just lost Giants, who were without Malik Nabers Neighbors. Without Malik Nabers and without... They were without Malik Nabers and without their starting running back, Singletary. And the Seahawks still lost to the awful Giants. So, I don't know. I don't see this as a question.
Yeah, I'm going to take Seattle just because I feel like it is a coin flip. And
I thought you were frozen there for a second.
No, that's my deep in thought stance. I'll take Seattle in this one. I don't know. As long as McCaffrey's out, they're not the same team. I have no idea. I'm really curious. These Packers and 49ers face off in like week 11, so it's still a number of weeks away. But it'll be interesting to see where both these teams are, because the Niners are going to have to definitely start winning some games to stay competitive. Yeah, I'll take these Seahawks. Who do we got in the second matchup? Let me get to my fucking schedule here. I'm trying to do multiple tabs. It's not working for me tonight. All right. Off to Germany, where the Jaguars face off against the Chicago Bears. Are you going to take the Bears at all? Ever? No?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm going to... honestly... If I thought the Jags were as bad of a team as we've seen so far, I would take the Bears. But really, I think the Jags are better than what we've seen. And obviously, they finally got a win. They've got talent. I think they're better than what we've seen so far. So that's ultimately the reason why I'm taking the Jags.
I'm gonna bear down on this one. I'm gonna take the Bears. They're coming off back-to-back wins. They had.
Did you really just say bear down?
I did
on a Packers podcast.
Well, it's overtime. Things get nutty in overtime.
I think I need another beer. You can keep talking about the Bears. That's fine. I'll be back.
Oh God, he always gets up and walks away when I talk about the Bears. Guy needs a therapist or a urologist, because he always has to go to the bathroom. He's got a small bladder, weak bladder. I've been putting a lot of thought into trying to be less biased. I'm really pissed off a lot of Vikings fans. I got a lot of Vikings followers on TikTok. I think our entire TikTok following is Vikings fans, just so they can comment on anything we post and just rip us to shit. But I don't want that. As I said heading into that game, I don't hate Vikings fans. It's fucking changing in a hurry, but I don't hate them as much as Bears fans. I'm trying to be unbiased. So I look at the matchup, Bears-Jacksonville. Who is the better team? It's not the Jaguars. It's the Bears. I'm taking the Bears.
Okay.
I'm up 2-0.
I think Bears fans might need a therapist after they lose to the Jags.
Oh, boy. Next game we have on the docket is the Colts and Titans. Ugh. We faced both of these teams before.
That's an ugly one. Ugly.
Is what's his face still the quarterback out there in Tennessee? He hasn't lost his job yet, has he?
Will Levis?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think he's lost his job.
Andy Dalton looked good last week. No, that's
Joe Flacco.
That's
you
the
mean?
fucking Carolina Panthers. No.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Joe Flacco?
It was fucking Joe Flacco,
okay,
man.
We'll take Joe Flacco then. I'm going to take Joe Flacco and the Colts.
I'm taking Joe Flacco too.
Okay. Texans.
I don't know what it is.
What?
Joe Flacco, like he had that. No. What was that run? He had that run to the playoffs with the Browns. He came in and saved the day, led the Browns to the playoffs. They didn't. I think they lost first round or something like that. But still,
the fight.
And now he comes in for the Colts and just reignites that offense. Like, and he never was. Did he win a Super Bowl? Yeah, he's got a Super Bowl win with the Ravens, but it was because of the Ravens' defense.
Oh yeah,
that's the reason why they went to a Super Bowl and won.
Well, Tom Brady has like 3 or 4 Super Bowls because of the defense. So who are we kidding here?
That's true. Right? No, I agree. But
the Packers don't have as many Super Bowls because of the defense, Christian. I mean, that really hit. Defense wins championships. It's a saying for a reason.
Well, no, but I 100% agree with you. But my point is, Joe Flacco has come in as this veteran backup for these teams and just reignited these offenses. And he never was, he never was the reason why the Ravens were successful. I mean, he played well. Obviously, they still got his points, but he wasn't the big reason why the Ravens were successful.
Reigniting the offense is a strong term for a one-game performance, don't you think?
They scored like 35 points.
All right. Well, I'm still going to take Joe Flacco and the Colts, but it's only because they're playing the Tennessee Titans. That's a real bad matchup.
Yes. I agree.
Your Houston Texans, you don't see them cooling down as they face off against the New England Patriots. I'm going to hop on that bandwagon with you too. The Patriots really are
planning to start Drake May, their rookie quarterback.
Oh. Ooh, little spark in that engine, huh?
No, I don't think that changes any.
Divisional matchup, Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. Saints started out 2-0. They were the hottest team in the NFL. Their offense looked unstoppable. Derek Carr was doing interviews down there in New Orleans and Louisiana. They have lost 3 straight, and I don't know what to think of them anymore. I do have a little bit more faith in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had that game on, was it Monday night? Monday night they played, right?
The Bucs game?
Yeah.
Or
no, Thursday. That was a Thursday night game. They had that game Thursday night.
Bucs were Thursday. Yep. Saints were Monday.
Yep. So as crazy as it sounds, I mean, you got to think the Saints will pick it up at some point. Maybe this is that game or not, but they're both coming off losses. I like Baker and that Tampa Bay team more than I like the Saints.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you watched any of that Thursday night game, the Bucs had that game in hand, and Kirk Cousins snatched it away somehow. So I think the Bucs are still a good team, and the Saints are coming off, like you said, 3 losses in a row. They have struggles. I don't see them necessarily turning it around against this pretty good Bucs team.
We might have another consensus pick here. I have the Browns playing the Eagles. Eagles are coming off of their bye week. Eagles are at home. Eagles are a 9-point favorite. I don't see an upset in the cards on this one. I would say the Eagles take care of business there. We could probably move on unless you got any other thoughts on that one.
No, I don't. I mean, I have a feeling that the Eagles come out of the bye week. They've had some injuries. A.J. Brown's been injured for majority of the season so far. I feel like they come out of the bye week and we see a more dominant Eagles team that we expected to start the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them pop back into the top 10 power rankings in a lot of places after a win in week 6.
Well, maybe not against the Browns, but I think if they stack 2, for sure, they're in the top 10. The next game I have coming up, this one's could be a fun matchup to watch. Baltimore opens as 6.5-point favorites against the 4-1 Commanders. The Commanders have been a surprising team. Jaden Daniels has looked really good. He's looked better than Caleb Williams in a lot of aspects. But I am not a believer that they can take down the Ravens on the road, so I will take the Ravens in that one. You're shaking your head as though you agree.
Yeah, I do. I think the Commanders come back down to earth a little bit in this one. I feel like the Ravens really dominate this game, and the expectations that the Commanders have kind of come back to front of mind.
Yeah.
Not to say they have more success as the season goes on, but I don't think this is one that they continue to win.
Those are going to be fun matchups when the Commanders face off against the Eagles and the Cowboys. Those are going to be a lot more entertaining games than what they've been in the past. I have the Chargers and the Broncos. Chargers open up as 3-point favorites against the Broncos. Who'd you take?
Only 3 points.
Yeah.
I took the Bolts.
You did.
The Chargers are, the first few weeks of the season, the Chargers were really hot, and then they lost to the Chiefs, and then they had their bye week. So the buzz about the Chargers kind of cooled off a little bit. I still think they're a good team. I think that the Broncos have outplayed their expectation so far this year. But I think, again, just like I was talking about the Commanders, I think that gets brought back down to earth a little bit against a Chargers team that has shown that they're pretty damn good too.
So Chargers beat the Raiders in week 1. They beat the Panthers in week 2 and then lost to the Steelers and the Chiefs before heading to their bye week. I'm gonna take the Broncos in this one. I've had some luck picking them the last couple weeks, and maybe they're an interesting team. That Broncos team. They got some potential. They can be competitive. They're not a team that you're just gonna walk all over. Bo Nix is making plays when he needs to make plays. I gotta stop saying that fucking phrase. I do all this editing on these videos, right? And I'm finding myself in a tendency of making the throw when he needs to make the throw, making the play when he needs to make the play. I gotta stop saying that shit. It's gonna drive.
Everyone's got it, man. On all these podcasts, everyone's got the same. Like, they have these phrases that they use all the time. Have you ever watched the Kelsey's podcast?
I have not.
Jason and Travis Kelsey.
No.
So they have both of them, mainly Jason, but he says electric all the time. Whether he's talking about a specific player or a specific team, he's like, oh, they were electric. Oh, that guy was electric. He said, and he doesn't know, he doesn't realize he's saying it over and over again. It's just a term that he subconsciously really enjoys using. So don't feel bad about it. Everyone does it on these podcasts.
Well, it's a litmus test. So I'm going to take the Broncos in this one. All right. Steelers and the Raiders. Pittsburgh opens up as 3-point favorites against the Vegas Raiders. I will take the Steelers in this matchup. You as well?
Yeah, I took the Steelers as well. I mean, that Sunday night game against the Cowboys, they still played well. I mean, it was some late heroics that ended up winning the game for the Cowboys. So the loss to the Cowboys, I don't think it diminishes the success that the Steelers have had so far this year.
Lions Cowboys at 325, America's game of the week. Detroit opens up as 3-point favorites against the Cowboys. I said previously that I want the Lions to absolutely demolish the Cowboys. As much as I would like an upset here down there in Arlington, I want the Lions to win, and I think that they probably will win. So I'm going to stick with the Lions on that one.
Yeah, Lions were hot going into their bye week. Now they've had a week to recuperate and re-strategize. I think they come out and I think they do demolish the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, the losses that the Cowboys had have been pretty bad beatings so far. So I think that happens again.
Falcons and Panthers, probably not a lot of surprises there. As we learned previously in this episode, the Panthers are dead last in the power rankings, and they got destroyed by the Chicago Bears. I have the Falcons in the top 10 of my power rankings, so I'm gonna move on with Atlanta here on this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Atlanta as well.
Bengals and Giants. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I know the Giants won last week, but I mean, the Bengals looked like the team that we expected them to be this year. So and they just, they were playing a very good team. They were playing a very good quarterback in Lamar Jackson and ended up losing in overtime. I think the Bengals easily win this one against the Giants.
I agree. I'm going to take the Bengals as well. They're going to find their way and maybe squeak into the playoffs. Like, they played really tough against the Ravens on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it just kind of seems like Joe Burrow is more than capable of being a stud. We've seen glimpses of that in the past, and I feel like it's just a matter of time so they start stringing some wins together. They definitely have a mountain to climb being 1-4, but it probably starts on Sunday night against the Giants. And then Monday night, our final game of the week, the Bills open as only 2.5-point favorites against the New York Jets and their brand new head coach.
What is with these lines this week?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, even the Packers being 5.5-point favorites against the Cardinals after they just beat the Niners.
Yep.
Like, a lot of these, and it may just be because it's early in the week, we may see them change as the week goes on. But yeah, a lot of these odds that you've been thrown out there have all been very confusing to me. Like, every one of them, I've been like, what, really? That's interesting.
So you're taking the Bills is what you're saying?
Yes, I'm taking the Bills.
So I'm looking, there's not a lot of games that we're separate on. So you have Niners, I have Seahawks, you have Jags, I have Bears. Everything else we are agreeing on up to this point. We're only down to 2 games that are going to separate our column. So I said I was going to be smarter with these picks, but I'm going to change it up. I'll go with the Jets. I'll take the Jets for this one, just because I want to make it interesting. That's all. That's the only reason why. Here's the reality of it, Christian. We've picked how many of these games the same, and we both know that our picks are not going to be 100%, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
So there are some games in here that are going to throw a couple wrenches, if you will. So yeah, Indiana, the Colts only open as 1-point favorites against the Titans. I didn't say that one earlier.
Really?
Niners are 3.5-point favorites against the Seahawks. The Bears are 2.5 over the Jags. Atlanta 6 over the Panthers. Yeah, Did
you say the Broncos are favorites over the Chargers?
No, the Chargers are 3-point favorites over the Broncos. That's the other one that I have, yeah. So I have the Broncos, you have the Chargers.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the odds on these are very close. 3-point favorites, 2.5-point favorite, 5.5-point favorite. Like, that's just setting it all up for there to be a bunch of upsets, honestly. Like, it's a coin flip on a lot of these games.
Yeah, and I'm realizing that I already have 3 that aren't the same as yours, so I'm going back to the Bills. Fuck the Jets. They're not winning that game. There's no way they're winning that game, so I'm gonna
No.
I'm not gonna put my lock on it or my survivor pick because then the Jets will win that game. But I think the Bills take care of business. Let's head over to power rankings. Again, I'm not putting these overlays on the screen because in case you run into any technical difficulties, I don't want to deal with that bullshit again.
I got mine up if you want me to run through.
Go for it, man.
Honestly, not a whole lot of movement in my power rankings this week. I got Kansas City at 1, Minnesota at 2. Only 2 unbeaten teams left in the league. Honestly, if either one of them lose, they probably start moving further down the list. Minnesota has a bye this week, so that won't happen for them. But at number 3, I got Detroit. They had a bye last week, so it's hard to really move them one way or the other. We talked about their matchup this week with the Cowboys, and I think that they showed me enough in their week 4 matchup that they're clicking and really the dominant team that we expected them to be. So I have them at 3. I have Baltimore at 4. Washington came up pretty high on my rankings.
Yeah,
I feel like I just needed, they've had success as the season has progressed, and I just needed that to be consistent for me to put them in my power rankings finally. And I got them at 5. Houston at 6.
That's fucking crazy, by the way.
Buffalo at Houston at 6?
No, well, I'm just thinking of all the teams that you have Washington ahead of, and you're going to list the rest of your top 10, but 5's crazy to me. That's super high for that one.
You think that's too high? Yeah. I mean, they've performed very well and beaten some good teams.
Good teams.
We'll see how long they last.
That's kind of right.
I mean, I have them losing in week 6.
Yep.
So,
well, I put Washington at 10 last week. They weren't even in your top 10 last week, right?
No.
So, do you see this? What the? Wait.
What was that? What is happening? You don't have power? We have a ghost like emoji pop. What? Go like this. Do this.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. There's got to be more. We got to figure out what those are.
Wow. That's is this like
nothing? Okay. Nothing there. Hard one's crazy though. We really went off topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have.
What about this? What about this one?
I'm afraid to do that one, dude.
No.
Well, so you have no movement. No movement in your top 4, which mine is the same. I have no movement in my top 4. You have Washington coming out of the top 10 all the way up to number 5, so a huge move for them. You had Houston at 9 last week, and you moved them up to 6, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have them at 6. They beat, very good Buffalo team that we had at one point. I believe I had them at number 3, Buffalo, before they got a loss. So I got Houston at 6, Buffalo at 7, right behind them. I mean, I still think the Buffalo's a good team. Josh Allen's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league still. So I moved them a couple of spots. I still I mean, we talked about it in the last episode. I still need to see a little bit more out of the Packers before I move them higher up the power rankings. I know they got to win, but the performance in that first half, it still has me a little hesitant.
We listened to Tony Romo talk about him on Sunday. He's like, this is one of the top teams in the NFL. I was like, geez, Romo, take it down a notch, all right? Well, we're so used to like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck just hating the Packers, and then you get Tony Romo who's just in love. I think he wishes he played for the Packers.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yep. Right. I mean, he's a Wisconsin boy.
So Packers at crazy. You said Packers at 8, right?
Packers at 8. I got Tampa Bay at 9. I kind of explained a little bit of this. They lost to the Falcons this week, but it wasn't a bad loss. They controlled that game for most of it. I said they're a top 10 team, and then I moved Pittsburgh to number 10.
That one was interesting.
Again, Pittsburgh did get the loss again against the Cowboys, but they fought hard in that game against the Cowboys, and I saw some good things out of Pittsburgh, even though they lost on Sunday night.
I can agree with 90% of your list for the most part outside of Pittsburgh, because you didn't have Pittsburgh in your top 10 last week. So they lose to the Cowboys, and they move up a couple spots to the number 10, which is some interesting logic you got there.
Outside of the top 4, there's probably zero logic that goes into this. It's all gut. It's all gut feeling.
Yeah, so I have Kansas City at 1, Minnesota 2, Baltimore at 3, and Detroit at 4. So they did not move at all in my power rankings. They stayed put. I did take Houston. They were not in my power rankings, I don't think, last week, and I moved them up to the 5 spot. So I'm now on the Christian mindset of the Texans could be a formidable opponent. They're starting to worry me a little bit. I've mentioned that before. I dropped the Bills down to 6 in my power rankings, and there's a reason why I have those two teams back to back like that. It was a close matchup on Sunday when they face off, 3-point game. So the Packers are at 7 still for me. I had them at 7 last week, and I kept them stagnant to the points that you talked about and we talked about. They're fine. They got away with a win, but I have not seen the team click and come together as much as what I think constitutes them to maybe crack the top 5 at that point. So I just kept them put. I didn't want to move them up. I didn't want to move them down. Washington is my number 8. They were 10 last week. 4-1 record. That's tough to do in the NFL. They are clicking and they've had some victories. But I couldn't put them ahead of the Packers or anyone else on that list. I think putting them at 5 would be a fucking blasphemy, quite frankly. The Atlanta Falcons show up at number 9 on my power rankings. And then at 10 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So again, that's another, I look through, for me to go through this list, I went through really standings. So you had your 5-0 teams and all that stuff, and it kind of trickles down. And then you get to like a slew of 3-2 teams. I'm just kind of cherry picking my way through that. I'm like, yeah, Cowboys are not in there. There's a couple other ones, but I'm like, so essentially I look at the Houston Buffalo. That was a good matchup. 2 good teams face off. I think they're next to each other. And Atlanta and Tampa, I just put Atlanta ahead because they came away with the victory. But honestly, if Atlanta didn't win that game, they're probably outside the top 10. I digress. So that's my top 10. But this is the first week in a long time, and I think yours is going to be very similar, where we're maybe starting to solidify some of these picks and not a ton of movement. I mean, I would say if the rest of these teams win, the Packers beat Arizona on Sunday, maybe they move up 1 spot in my power rankings next week, but they're going to have to definitely show up against the Houston Texans in 2 weeks. We're really foreshadowing the hell out of that game. Can't look past the Cardinals, though. Don't look past the Cardinals.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And do we have, we went through before this, Minnesota's on a bye. Do we have all the rest of these teams winning?
You don't. I do.
What do you mean I don't? Who do I have losing?
The Bears.
Washington?
Oh, you're talking about the top 10 teams. I thought you were talking about the North.
Yeah, I'm talking about the top 10 teams.
Let me pull that schedule up again. I just wrote that. So yeah,
Kansas City has a bye as well.
Kansas City, Rams, your Dolphins, and the Vikings all have bye weeks. So yeah, Bills play the Jets. We have them winning. Falcons play the Panthers. Have them winning. Lions face the Cowboys. Have them winning. Commanders and the Ravens. I think we both took the Ravens.
Yep.
And that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as, and I think Washington's the only team we have losing this week in our predictions. So, I mean, maybe drops Washington a few spots, but the rest of them, you know, maybe move up a spot or two as long as they all win, right?
Yeah. And how they win.
Right. Yeah. That makes a difference too.
One thing's certain though. It's interesting. Those top two teams are going to stay there for at least another week because there's a bye week.
Right. Yeah. Because they're both on bye. You know, and this into a thing I wanted to talk about. You know, this Minnesota Vikings going 5-0. We talked about.
Be careful.
The last time.
Be careful.
Last week.
Do you really want to add more fuel to the fire with these? Go ahead.
Vikings fans? Bring it on.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah. These are Christian's thoughts.
Well, no, we talked about last.
I'm looking for a peace treaty at this point. All right.
I don't need a peace treaty.
You don't get the goddamn notifications like I do. My phone is blowing up constantly, Christian. It is nonstop. Comment. I quit reading them and they all said the same fucking thing. They're all like, they talk about living in the past. Quit living in the past. Packers fan. How ironic. Fuck you, Vikings fans. By the way, if you make it this late in the episode and you're a Vikings fan, comment down below. Hit that like button. Subscribe.
Yeah, they might not hit the like button after what I'm about to say.
Okay, go for it.
But, I mean, last week we talked about the last time the Vikings went 4-0, right? Yeah. It was 2016. And they finished the season 8-8. Now this week they're 5-0. The last time the Vikings went 5-0, it was also 2016. Do you know who the quarterback was for the Minnesota Vikings when they went 5-0 in 2016?
Hold on. That would have been. Dia's fucking face. It was before Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
It was. Starts with a B, right? Last name.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's another Sam.
Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford, quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings in 2016, when they started the season 5-0. So another Sam Darnold, Sam Bradford. Yes. Running back was Jerick McKinnon. They had Stefan Diggs, Adam Thielen, Cordero Patterson. On defense, they had Everson Griffin and Xavier Rhodes. So they had some star power. They had some solid players. So after they went 5-0, they also had a bye week in week 6. Just like they do this year. After their bye week in week 6, they won 3 more games.
What happened, though? Did Bradford continue to play?
Yeah, I believe so.
What? See, something happened. Something had to have happened. You don't start the season 5-0 and then only win 3 games the rest of the season. That's like a mass failure on so many accounts. Something had to have happened. Someone had to have got hurt.
I don't know.
I bet you if I open up my TikTok right now, there'd be a bunch of people who tell me how 2016 unfolded. But I like where your head's at.
Sure. A bunch of excuses.
Oh, yes, a bunch of excuses.
That they claim Packers fans like to make excuses.
No excuses.
Yeah, no excuses. I mean, it's pretty obvious that we have criticisms of our own team. We don't make excuses.
Trying to think of an excuse from Sunday on why they played so bad. I don't really have one. They just played bad and had a string of a couple good possessions and called it a day. The punter didn't look good. Fucking Daniel Whalen let me down. He had some shitty punts. Narveson scares the hell out of me.
Narveson hit his one field goal.
Oh my God. He scares the hell out of me, though. Every time he walks up there to kick. They called a timeout to try and ice him. Do you remember that? And, like, he like, walked off the field. He looked scared. Like, it's like, oh, shit, they call a timeout. I'm going to go back to the sideline. Like, what are you doing? You stand out there, hit your chest, let them know you're going to fucking bang the field goal. He made it, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like our field goal situation.
Yeah, I haven't seen, just one opportunity for him. Obviously, he made it, but it doesn't quite give me confidence yet. He's got to hit a few more before I got belief again.
Even when Mason Crosby was struggling a couple of years ago, like, I don't know if it was just his resume where I was like, he'll get it together, he'll figure it out, but the kicking in the NFL this season has been unreal. Like, it's been a talking point. These 50-plus yard field goals that are being made, they're just unheard of. And I get nervous when he lines up for a 42-yard field goal. I'm like, what are we doing?
I'm a little surprised that we haven't heard a little bit more about, last week we talked about McManus or something like that. That kicker that isn't suspended by the league anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No talk of him whatsoever.
I'm a little surprised that we haven't heard anything about the Packers talking to him or really any other team talking to him.
But I truthfully think there's just a bunch of drama that comes with that. And I don't think any teams want to mess with it. And I apparently do not have Brad Childress saved to my desktop, so I can't even bring his face up. So, on that note,
what are we even doing?
I don't know.
What are we even doing here?
We're fizzling out, though. That happens.
I'm not going to see Brad Childress pour another Packers podcast overtime episode.
He'll make a comeback.
We'll see.
Like chlamydia. Just can't get rid of it.
Always comes back.
All right, we are officially 2 hours and 10 minutes into this recording. It is 11:30 at night. Tom, thank you for sticking out the entire podcast. I look forward to seeing your comment at the very end of it.
Max, I'll shotgun a beer after the Packers beat the Cardinals this week.
Does he make it to the end?
I think
Max,
so.
comment. I'm calling you out. We got 2 people making it to the end of overtime, so I need some comments. I need some likes. 100% of the time. So that's all I got. We'll wrap it up. The next week will be here before we know it. On behalf of Christian, myself, and Xavier McKinney, thank you for checking out the episode. We'll see you next week. All the love in the world. Jordan Love coming at you. Cheers and good night.